Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Rachel and I am knitting. Not right now, but most of the time. And I have been knitting. I have a newly finished object around my neck, and today's video is going to be talking you through my process of knitting it. So this is the next episode in my video series called FO Diaries, or Finished Object Diaries, the series where I sit down and tell you about a finished object I've recently completed. So for today's video, we have The Simple Thing by Melina Brell. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, and this is a customizable shawl slash scarf, depending on your preference. So I really enjoyed knitting this pattern and I would recommend it, and I'll tell you why. But first, let's go over some of the logistics. As you'll see, if you look up the pattern on Ravelry, it calls for a DK weight yarn. Now, because of the nature of this item, it is an accessory, not a garment. So the fit or the gauge is not the most important thing at the end of the day. You're not trying to make sure that it has a perfect fit. It's just a long string that you're wrapping around your neck. So if your gauge is not spot on, who freaking cares, okay? So anyway, the pattern calls for DK weight yarn. You could substitute other weights, I think, and be just fine. If you want a stiffer drape and you don't want a fabric that is as flowy, you could use a thicker yarn or a smaller needle. You can customize and play around with this pattern to make it suit your preferences. But I did use the recommended DK weight yarn, and I'll say that maybe with a bit of a caveat, because I didn't use straight DK yarn. I didn't use a skein of DK weight. I used skeins of fingering weight yarn, and I held 2 strands of fingering weight together, or what's referred to as fingering weight held double. And what that does is, instead of having this thin strand of fingering weight, by doubling it up, you achieve closer to a DK weight yarn. So I used the recommended weight approximately, and also the recommended needles in the pattern, which are a size 4, I believe, size 4.5, US 7. So 4.5 millimeter needle, US size 7, DK weight yarn for The Simple Thing by Melina Brell. This yarn that I used about 2.5, maybe less than 2.5, because this is what I have left over, and I think this is more than half of a skein. I haven't weighed it yet, but this is fingering weight yarn from Tidal and Current Fibers. This is hand-dyed yarn in Astoria, Oregon by my good friend Aslan, and her fingering weight base. So it's 100% superwash merino and 438 yards per 100 grams. When Aslan and I first established our partnership a few months ago, she told me to scour her website and let her know what yarn I was interested in, and she would send it my way. And I saw this listing for an expedition skein. And Aslan calls her one-of-a-kind batches expeditions. So if you're ever on tidalandcurrent.com and you are searching for yarn to buy and you fall in love with a colorway that's labeled expedition, make sure that you snatch it up, because expedition means one of a kind. It can't be or won't be repeated. So this is an expedition colorway. I'm so sorry to tease you, because it's so beautiful and so pretty and so, I don't know, like edgy and vibrant. But it's mine forever, and you can't have it because it's an expedition batch. But anyway, I told her that expedition skein looks beautiful. I want to hold it double and make an Oslo hat. Now, much to my surprise, when the yarn actually came to my doorstep, there was not only one skein of this expedition colorway, there were 3. So I was very impressed and grateful for Aslan's immense generosity in sending me 3 skeins of yarn. In fact, she actually sent me 6 skeins. She sent me 3 other skeins of a different colorway that I also really like, and it was a total surprise to me. So that kind of made me wonder if my plans needed to be tweaked. Now that I had 3 skeins, maybe I shouldn't make an Oslo hat. Maybe I should make like a short sleeve tee or a crop top or something like that. My options were expanded with the fact that I had 3 skeins. I was only expecting to get 1 skein. So that was awesome. But the addition of those options meant that I needed to take some time to search my heart. So those skeins were not immediately wound up or knit up. They sat on my yarn wall for a few months, waiting to be called to action for knitting, because I didn't know what I wanted to make yet. But I did keep them on my yarn wall because I thought that the skeins were really, really pretty, and I wanted them displayed, not, you know, somewhere I wouldn't see them all the time, because I liked looking at them. Whatever. Okay, so fast forward to September. Today, the day of filming, and I'm hoping the day of uploading, is September 30th. And a lot has happened in the month of September for my knitting. I've made a lot of things. I had a lot of plans to make things, and I deviated from them. That's not the point of this video. So let's just take a second to focus. Okay, so this kind of became a palette cleanser. My friend Leslie of Knit California over the summer knit a Sophie shawl. And ever since Leslie started posting about her Sophie shawl, I haven't been able to get it out of my brain. The thought of having a knit that was meditative, that was not a deadline knit, that was a selfish knit, even though there's no such thing as selfish knitting, meaning it was a knit for myself. It was totally just, the rules were mine to make, you know? Okay, I was like queen of the castle with this knit. So you get the idea. All that to say, this was a much needed knit. I loved making this. It was such a quick knit, but again, it wasn't originally going to be this scarf shawl. Originally, I was going to make it an Oslo hat. Then the yarn came, I had more than I ever thought I would get, and so my plans had to be reassessed. Now, in the early days of September, I knit 2 hats out of the Cabin Collection colorways, one for my dad in fixtures and one for myself in carpet. And I loved how they turned out. Now, DJ needed a hat too, and I wanted to make him a ribbed hat just like I made those 2 previous hats. And I told him to pick some yarn off my yarn wall. He pointed to these skeins and he said, "Oh, these look cool, but they might be too busy." And I was like, "Busy? What are you talking about? No, they'll be perfect." So I took it to work with me and I cast it on for the hat, and he was right. He was so right, and I was wrong. I don't know what I was thinking, but it just didn't look right. It wasn't the vibe I was going for. So when I got home from work, I cast this on, and I'm so glad I did. It was a very enjoyable experience. I cast it on Friday evening, and by Sunday, I was 1 skein in to making the finished object. So it was really quick, and I think I could have finished it probably, I don't know, the next day or the next day or 2, but I paused working on it to focus on my mom's sweater. But by the end of September 24th, I had cast it off. So over the course of 9 days, I worked up something from nothing. And that is something to be proud of. So let's talk logistics of this pattern. This is a garter stitch pattern, and it is beautiful in its simplicity. It's worked from side to side, starting at a narrow end and ending with a narrow end. So basically, you cast on and you do consistent increases until you're halfway through your yarn. And you'll come to a point here because you're only increasing on one side. So you'll see that the bottom side remains straight and this top half that I'm holding is slanted. So you work from a small narrow edge and it grows with your increases. Once you determine that you're halfway through your yarn, or halfway as wide or as long as you want your item to be, you start decreasing in the same consistency or same frequency as you increased. So it basically makes a very long triangle, and you can fold it in half and see that the increased section is the same length as the decreased section. Now, it's customizable, so if you wanted them not to be equidistant, you don't have to do that. It's also customizable in that you could increase more frequently or less frequently, depending on how long or skinny or wide you want the item to be. So the recommended rate of increasing and decreasing is every 4th row, and that's what I did. Knitting this a second time, I think that I would extend the distance between my increases and decreases, because I kind of want something that has, I don't know, more, I don't know, maybe is a bit skinnier and longer so I can wrap it around a few more times. But after blocking, I kind of like how it is, so maybe I wouldn't change anything. I'm also curious about how I could customize this by, instead of only increasing and then decreasing on one of the edges, to do that on both of the edges to kind of make more of like, what's the word for this? Basically a shape that looks like a snake that ate something big and is digesting it. So like narrow, but it increases on both sides. Is that making sense? What's the shape for that? I was never good at geometry. Whatever. Okay, well, that's something I'm thinking about doing. If you know the word for that, you can let me know, but I don't actually really care to learn about it. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking of doing. Now, because it's garter stitch, that's excellent because it means there's no purling. If you hate purling, let me introduce you to the simple thing. You don't have to purl. Another nice feature about this being garter stitch is it's very squishy, very cozy, very soft, very comforting. So if you want a really squishy shawl that's great for warmth and cushion, this is a great option. The third feature of this that I think really elevates it is the I-cord borders. Yes, that seems like the right word. So on either end of this shawl, on each edge, it's bordered by an I-cord edge. You can see that it bookends the garter stitch sections. I think that is a beautiful, beautiful feature. It's really clean, makes it look really professional, I think. And I just love how it looks. Let's try styling it this way. Maybe that will be cute. Maybe it will be a train wreck. I don't know. Living in Louisiana, I don't wear shawls all that often, but I'm excited at the opportunity to learn. That doesn't look half bad. Yeah, so there's some options. If I made this bigger, so that the depth of the triangle was deeper, I could maybe mimic those Outlander shawls, but it's just not quite big enough here. I didn't want to have to worry about yarn chicken, so I think I kind of erred on the side of caution a little bit too much because I have a lot of yarn left over. I think I'll probably knit some shorty socks or crank some shorty socks on my circular sock machine with this leftover yarn because I don't want it to go to waste, and then I could match with my shawl and my socks. That would be kind of fun. But yes, I'm considering bringing this to Ireland. I'm not sure if it will make it in my suitcase or not. I'll keep you posted. But overall, this was a very fun and quick knit. If you're planning to knit the simple thing, I would recommend that you have a system in place to mark your increases and decreases. One of the things that I regret about this knit is I didn't use my row counters. And what that did was it made it so I had to work harder to count manually to figure out when it was time to increase or decrease. And that was just annoying. I don't want to do that. I want to spend my time thinking about, I don't know, napping or something more fun than counting. So I regret not utilizing that tool. I thought because it was such a simple pattern, I didn't need to worry about it, but I think I probably should have, and it would have made it just that more enjoyable. I also think that I could have been a little braver and I could have used more yarn. So maybe gauge your courage before you start. Another thing that I recommend is that you take some time to figure out what rate of increasing and decreasing you want. I didn't really like pay attention with a discerning eye when I was knitting the first skein, and it wasn't till I had the first skein done and complete in the project that I thought, maybe this is increasing a little too fast and getting a little too fat too quickly. Maybe I wanted it a little bit more elongated, but it was kind of too late at that point, and I just kind of kept going. I'm fine with how it turned out now. I think it's really pretty and it will serve my purposes well. But if I were making it again, I would tweak my rate of increases and decreases to achieve maybe a more elongated finished item. I did wet block this, and I dried it by just draping it over my shower curtain rod. That worked fine. And blocking it really helped it bloom. I also have a video that I uploaded earlier this week that you can check out if you want to see how I weave in my ends on garter stitch. I demonstrated on this shawl. But yeah, this is The Simple Thing by Melina Brell. If you've been looking for a great quick knit and a free pattern to boot, and maybe a dupe for the Sophie shawl, if you are not a fan of knitting petite knit patterns, or you just prefer to knit free patterns, whatever. I'm not here to judge you. Do what you want. I support you. But this is a great pattern to check out. I think that I will definitely be knitting it again. Definitely once more, if not more than that. We'll see. But great stash buster too. So head over to your yarn wall or yarn wall equivalent and see what you could make out of The Simple Thing. The pattern says that you could use as little as 1 skein or as many as infinite skeins. So it's really choose your own adventure to make an item that you'll love and enjoy and get lots of wear out of. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you've knit this pattern and had a similar experience, validate me. If you've knit this pattern and you hated it, debate me. And if you've never knit this pattern, but you're curious and have a question I didn't answer, ask me. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you don't already, and hit that notification bell if you'd like to be notified of my next upload. Last but not least, head over to Instagram and follow me at Rachel is Knitting if you don't already. Okay, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.